Welcome to the 25th Hour podcast, where business owners share how they stay in control of their time so they can create that extra 25th hour every day to do the things that they love. I'm your host, Lisa Curley-Malice, and today's guest is Frank Byskov. And Frank founded Forty4 Financial to help clients plan for their future while having a positive effect on the world we live in. Specifically, what he uses is sustainability. When he was growing up in Denmark, sustainability was really important to him. And he recognizes that from a financial perspective, there's a lot to be gained from focusing in that area, both in terms of your goals and also in terms of the impact you can have worldwide and in terms of the impact you can have from the financial point of view. I loved that focus that he has on his business and the work that he does with clients. Also, from a time management perspective, we talk about the taking breaks and how important it is in order to stay present and really be in the moment with your clients, with your family, with your business. You can't expect to work 8 hours a day from every second, and you need to take some strong breaks. So listen in, learn how he takes breaks, and a couple other strategies that he does to make sure that he's giving the best of him to his family, his clients, and himself. Welcome, Frank. I'm super excited that you were able to join me today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you have a successful financial advisory business, and I know that you juggle a lot of things. What are some of the strategies you use to stay in control of your day?
I block off time for the things that I need to get done, whether it's meetings, it's family time, it's taking the 2-year-old to the park, whatever it may be, so I can focus, I can be present. So when I'm doing stuff, I'm doing it. Because there's only so much time to go around, you might as well make it count.
Right, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about how do you keep yourself present when you're blocking off your time?
Well, by trying to get rid of all the interference. So also like not overbooking myself, because it's a mental presence, and if you have too many thoughts going on, you're not in the moment for your clients or who you're talking to, and you're not very productive either. So it's kind of segmenting both time and like the mental capacity as well. So I try to block it off and work in like maybe 2 hours stints, give myself a little break in between so I can come back and be all there.
And I just was having a conversation with a client of mine yesterday about breaks. What is your favorite way to take a break?
Well, having a 2-year-old, the playground is a bit high on the list. But something outdoors, or we try to book so we have lunch as a family every day. It kind of gives a nice break where like you're not talking business, you're not focused. You try to like just be there, and that gives a nice little break. But otherwise, like anything outdoors, active, I'm in for it.
And did you always try to take lunch, or is that something that's happening since March?
No, we did it before as well, but it's been almost more important since, because you have less other inputs. So like having that time, just the 3 of us together, is quite important. So yeah, I try not to schedule anything during the lunch hour, but sometimes obviously it doesn't work out. But I try to keep that focused on family time.
And do you find that there are certain activities that you tend to like to do before lunch or like to do after lunch? Like it feels like that break in the middle of the day would be a nice divider. Are there certain activities you like to do before or after, or does it not really matter?
It doesn't matter that much, but getting off to a great start in the morning with where you feel productive and outreach and so forth, so you get it done, and then a little more maybe administrative later in the day. Plus now with the flexible schedule, I'm not a 9 to 5 kind of schedule. Also, again, with the trios, you have to be a little flexible. So trying to get the intensive stuff done, or the need to be done during trading hours, I get that done. The more administrative planning things, sometimes I do that after the little one's in bed, and I can focus on that because it doesn't require interaction with other people.
Right.
So it gives me a lot of flexibility and allows me to plan the day a little better.
Yeah. And I think when you're putting in the fun in the breaks, it makes the work easier. Like you said, you needed that mental space.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not as you know, you aren't either. I'm not a believer in the 8-hour workday. I don't think you can be productive for 8 hours. Definitely not 8 hours in a row. So by kind of breaking it up, like you have a couple of solid hours, maybe 2 or 3 sessions a day, and you get a lot of work done, and you have more time beyond that.
Right. And so you were saying earlier that part of being able to block the time off and to stay present means you eliminate some of those distractions.
Right.
How do you do that? Or let me ask a different question. Sorry. I do want to know how you do it. But first I want to know, what are some of your main distractions that you face?
Well, it's like the social media, the outreach, that's because there's so much stuff going on there. So try to not get sucked into that wormhole. So that's a big one. I'm a bit of a nerd. Sometimes I really research stuff to the way too much, to the nth degree. So trying to kind of limit those and okay, I know what I need to know now. I don't need to keep going. It's also a distraction. But I think that's a fun part of the business, that you can learn so many different things and be a help for your clients.
Right. Absolutely. And it's part of what would set you apart from other people in your field is that you are kind of a nerd about that kind of stuff and you want to dig in and see what's there. So how do you know when you know enough? Like, how do you draw that line?
But that's a tough question, and it's a case by case. Like one topic I love to discuss with clients is Social Security, and because it's a huge decision. You make it once in your lifetime, and for most people it's overwhelming, and they just kind of go with whatever instead of learning how it works. I'm in a position where I know how it works because I've done it for several clients and walked them through it, and so that's one area where it is structured in a way so it's relatively easy to know, get a really good grasp of how it works in a limited amount of time. Even though it's a complex situation, you have to stay on top of it and all that stuff. But that's where I know enough. Unless there's a special circumstance, I might have to dig into it a little bit if it's been years since I've touched something. But that's one where okay, I know enough here. But then looking at some trust setups and how that works, and sometimes that's a longer term process.
And so how do you disengage? Like I know how I am when I get down the rabbit hole. I'm in there and I'm geeking out over something, and then the next thing I know, hours have passed. What tricks do you use to say, okay, that's it, I'm done?
Usually it's a calendar reminder that family time is coming up. And then it's okay, enough. But that also helps me because I need to sleep on something. Sometimes the pertinent question pops up, where it's okay, I need to look at this aspect of it. And that was the missing piece I needed, but it kind of needs to percolate a little bit. So usually it's an overnight process before it settles in.
Right. Right. And it is talking about, like what you said before, about being present and having the space, the mental space, and to make the connections and to let the information assimilate. The other thing I'm wondering is, you had talked about outreach in social media. That is a huge time suck for a lot of my clients. How do you stop? Like, you're in there, you're deliberate when you go in.
Well, it's kind of easy to stop because I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's important. So I try to do a couple of outreaches a day. Some people have like 10 per day. I don't think I can do that at a quality I like. So I try to do 1 or 2. I'm in a great networking group, Success Champions Network, little plug here. And there's so many amazing people. You cross a lot of different industries and helping each other grow our businesses. That's been a huge help in outreach, and to keep it a little more focused. So you talk to people that are open to learn more about you, and maybe it triggers something. Oh, you need to talk to this person, or I know someone who could use your help. That has been tremendous in my business development. So I focus a lot of energy on that to really develop those relationships, because I think that warm introduction is so much better than a spam LinkedIn outreach.
Right. Well, and it's how we met. Like, I don't know if it's through that exact group, but it's exactly how we met.
Exactly. It is through that group. So you never know what comes of it. So yeah, no, I can't recommend that enough. And again, I'm in a position, I don't need thousands of clients. I need like dozens of clients. So the importance of getting a good lead, a warm lead from someone who puts me in the right spot with a prospect, I value that more than the volume.
Right. And I think a lot of that goes back to what you said to me at the beginning. It's about staying present, about staying in the moment. It's about high impact versus quality over quantity. So what are some other ways that you stay in control of your day?
I have lists.
Yeah?
And again, it's one of those things I don't like, but I know they work. So I bought into the concept. So I keep lists of need to do, like to do, eventual.
Okay.
And some days you just have more bandwidth, and you get like you knock out the first 2 categories and you get into the eventual. But next day you just get the need to do done. So like, there are good and bad days. Some days you're more present than others. But there's always stuff that needs to be done, and then there's the would like to get done, and then the rest of it. So yeah, no, I definitely a big believer in lists and like having tasks. And if they're really important, I put them on my calendar to make sure they get done.
Yes. So tell me, what are some of the types of tasks that go on your calendar?
And most anything client related, because that's in the need to be done category. Obviously, anything compliance related, I have reminders, and so that goes in the calendar. A little more like the research or longer term projects is on a would like to do, and the outreach. Sometimes there's just the business development side. It's not the primary focus. It's definitely important. We all know that, but I need to take care of present clients first, obviously, before I look for new ones. So that does not always come in as a high category.
Can you tell me a story, or do you remember when you started to recognize that putting things on the calendar helped move them into implementation?
It was not too long ago. I started doing it at my previous job. And that's where I did the lists, but there wasn't like quite the structure. But then when I started my own company, it all of a sudden became like pertinent because I had no one else to rely on. And that's when I started implementing it. Also, the client load was less, which I like. So I can be there for the clients I do have. I don't think any person can handle 200 clients. So my goal is quite a bit less. I want to know their names. I want to hopefully remember their kids' birthdays, although I'm still working on that one. But putting it on the calendar became more important when I started my own firm. Because, the buck stops with me.
Right. So let's talk about your firm. So how long has it been since you started your own firm?
It's been about 2.5 years, give or take. So.
And what are the services that you offer your clients?
It's kind of like a package. It's the planning first, and investments. Second, you need the plan to be able to get your investments to the right place. So the planning definitely goes first. Kind of have the tagline, planning for a sustainable future for you, for your family, and for generations to come. So what I include in that package is like planning, and that goes whatever direction you need as a client, and money management. And I have a focus on sustainable investing, because I think that is one, it's just a better investment in general, because you have more forward-thinking companies, healthy, good quality, that are thinking about the future. Plus, it makes clients feel good, like that they have the carbon footprint of the market, or they help promote gender equality, or whatever may be important to the client. And I have found it to help them stick to the plan during like the turbulence we saw earlier this year, because they knew there was a bigger purpose. Once they had a plan, so they knew, okay, we'll stick to the plan, we'll be fine. And to the investments, they knew it was good quality stuff. And that there was like a greater purpose behind it. So I didn't get any frantic phone calls when the market dropped 30%, which was, again, frees up my time. So I could actually have productive conversations with clients. And offer all of that at a retainer price of $6,000 per year. I know that is a big no from a lot of financial advisors, but I think that is, it keeps the value with the client. It helps them. It's transparency. It's removing some conflicts of interest that are present in the industry. So I don't get paid more or less depending where your money is invested. It is invested where you're comfortable and where it makes sense for you. And if you need to take out money to buy a second home or something, I'll make sure we get it done the right way, because it doesn't affect me. I always have there's a little red flag that goes off when someone says, oh yeah, no, like my advisor told me I should keep my money invested and get a loan, and like an asset-backed loan instead. Like, okay, that may be the right decision, but did he get paid twice on making that recommendation? So I want to remove those conflicts. And if that is the way to go, that's where we'll go. But if it's not, we'll find some other solution. So it's, people are some are questioning it until they get why I did that, but it makes a lot of sense for me. It makes a lot of sense for the clients when they get the idea. So yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of education going on.
Right. Well, and it's in line with your values.
It is. I think it makes a lot of sense with what I'm trying to accomplish.
Now, when did you decide to move into the sustainable piece?
That was from the get-go. First I thought it was a good investment strategy, but the more I looked into it, the more I believed it was the right thing. On all like the different aspects, it's a good storytelling. People feel a little better about it, and you get better investments. So I think it was something I want to incorporate from the get-go. And I've only heard good things about it. I have some clients, they don't care about it. They just trust that it is, they're more like the financial return. And that is number one, that has to be there because nothing else matters.
Right.
If your money disappears. So the investment return has to be there, and they trust that aspect. And others care more about the impact they make, and the financial return is not as important. But we're investing to generate a return and to look out for our clients' interests. So I think it needs to hit both. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback from clients and prospects. So I think it's the right thing to do, and it works for me.
Right. It's so unique. I just love that idea. So who are the right clients for you?
Someone who cares. It tends to be also with my pricing structure, somewhere in the 500,000 to 5 million. I am a pretty good deal from a pricing perspective. So it tends to be client that is like in the 50s, maybe the kids are in college or they're approaching retirement, like trying to start to focus on themselves. They tend to be a good match. It's also where like you have a little extra bandwidth to see your values. When you're in your 20s, you think you know them, but you learn along the way. So you know what your values are. You know, like you want to leave something for your kids or for charities or something that matters to you. So it tends to be someone in the 50s. I have the whole range from like early 30s to into retirement, but the new client the hotspot, so to speak, tends to be like 50s, focusing on getting their finances aligned. Maybe they have a couple of 401ks stuck somewhere, so helping them get some clarity as to what they have and what they can do, and that's a big help for a lot of clients. Like the number one question I get is, can I retire early? Not that they necessarily do it, but they want to have the option. And that, again, comes back to time. Time is important. And once you know that working is an option, it's not a requirement, you approach it in a different way. And maybe, like as a second career, you choose passion over a paycheck. And like, okay, I don't need to make 6 figures anymore. I can work for something I really care about, or a company. Maybe you work in a startup where you're all paid in stock options and they may never be worth anything. But if it's something you really care about and you have the option, go for it.
Right. Absolutely. I was just speaking with a friend of mine who retired out of a very, very lucrative career and is now a professional volunteer and does it in a way where it's almost like a full-time job, but she says it doesn't feel like a full-time job.
Right.
Because she's doing what she loves.
Yeah, no, I think true wealth is measured in options, of freedom to choose. And just having the option of doing something doesn't mean you have to do it, but it gives you a sense of empowerment that earlier on in your career, you don't have those options. So like finding something you care about, that you are good at, or you want to help out with, that's amazing. And it gives us a sense of like both empowerment and wealth, not necessarily like pecuniary wealth, but I think that's where like the true value lies. Also, one of the things, one of my beliefs is like money has no value by themselves. It's what you spend them on that creates that value. And it's different from person to person what that value is. And like you can buy stuff, create the value that way. You can give it to people, you can use for charities, you can, whatever it may be, or maybe it's just having it buys you a sense of calm. Like, okay, I know I have enough to live comfortably. That creates a value. But the money itself, like, no, like you can't eat money. You have to use it for something to create the value. So I think once you realize that, it makes the planning more fun. It's like, okay, great, you have money, but what are you going to spend it on? That's a much more interesting conversation.
Right. Yeah. You have it. Now what? You know,
Exactly.
it's like time. Okay. You wake up in the morning, you have it. You have 24 hours. Now what? Are you going to invest it? Are you going to be diligent about how you use it? Or are you going to let it flit away all day long? So that's why I love talking with financial planners and financial advisors, because the concepts around money and the concepts around time are so similar.
Yeah, it's a limited resource and has to be spent wisely. And that's where I love that, like the target client, that like the mass affluent, as I call it, because that's where planning has value. Because if you you can't make too many mistakes, or you may run out of money. You can't take too much risk, but you have to take some. If you have 50 million and live on a modest budget, you'll be fine no matter what you do.
Right.
But if you have like, if you have enough, but you want to do something with money and you want to leave something for the next generation, you have to make smart decisions along the way. And that's where I get a lot of like professional joy out of working with that group. So that's the target. And it makes the planning process quite fun.
Yeah. I can tell you love what you do.
I do. Yeah.
Yes. And as do I. So it's so easy to see. So let's talk about the 25th hour. So as you know, the name of the podcast is the 25th hour, and it's about that extra quote unquote time that you get when you are able to do your lists and be in the moment and take the breaks and be productive. What are the things you like to do with that 25th hour?
Well, I'll probably take 10 minutes of them and like do an extra outreach.
Okay.
Focus a little bit on the business development, but otherwise get out. Get outside, do something active. We live in a great area where there's access to parks, and they close off the streets on the weekends, so we can take the bike stroller out. So something outdoors would be the remaining 50 minutes.
Tell me more about what you like to do when you're outside and being active.
I do triathlons for fun. Yes, they may be painful, but I think consider that part of the fun. I coach a triathlon team because I love doing it. I have a swim in college, so that's my strong suit. So that's what I focus on with the tri team, because most triathletes they don't come into it being great swimmers, and it's the hindrance to enjoy a great sport. So I like biking, running, swimming. So, and the nice thing about triathlons is there's always something. If the bike has a flat tire and you don't want to fix it, you go for a run instead. Or like it's very flexible. So have a great jogging stroller. We go out, all three of us, for a run, take a break at a playground and run back home. So something active, hiking, biking, walking, running, whatever it may be. That's mowing the grass. I have a great time with. But it has to. I like to move and be outside.
And Do your activities change at all when the weather is not nice and sunny?
Yeah, less biking, but if it's not raining too bad, I'll still go running. I don't like to mow on a rainy day for multiple obvious reasons, but yeah, they do change, and then it'll be a little more indoor. Having a personal trainer in the house kind of such a good gives a lot of potential input for activities. And the 2-year-old loves like the home workouts. She gets down on the floor and she knows how to do burpees, and she thinks they're fun. So it's all about the frame you put them in.
Right.
It's all about like setting the right, getting the right mindset. So she thinks it's playing with mommy and daddy when we do home exercise.
Wow, it's all they always there's that conversation about nature versus nurture, and right here is living proof that burpees can be fun. And it's
Burpees
all
can be fun.
about.
I don't consider them fun, but she does. So we'll go with it as long as that lasts.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do people get a hold of you? How can they find you?
I am on LinkedIn, Facebook. The best place to find a lot of good information is my website, 44 Financial, FORTY, the number 4, financial.com. And I'm accessible by email and phone. So plenty of ways.
Plenty of ways. So is there a story behind the name?
It's a number that's followed me throughout my life. I grew up in number 44. The first house we bought together was 44. There was jersey number in high school. It was just like a number that has a lot of like positive vibes to it. So nothing really deep, more just a good personal connection.
Yeah. Well, I think the best names come from those personal connections. And I laugh because the number 44 was, when I was growing up, it was one of my jersey numbers also. And so when you said that, I was like, oh, it was mine too. 8th grade basketball.
Yeah, and supposedly in numerology it means wealth or something like that. But that
Okay.
I found that out about that afterwards. So it wasn't like that idea behind it. But I figured that doesn't hurt.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like that is very on brand for you. Well, I so appreciate you being here today. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your ideas. And I'm so glad that we got connected through that networking group. That is so
well,
amazing.
thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure having this conversation. And like I watched some of your other episodes, and there are so many great tips and tricks to how to be more efficient. So I'm happy to be on the show and make it something big.